The amount of money you raise at some point in time, it's, for even Brazilian standards, but especially for U.S. standards, not that significant. So you always grew step by step, bootstrapping.
Bootstrapped,
right? Yep. How did that happen? Why did you make that decision? What was the reason behind those?
So the first company I had, I bootstrapped. So I started and funded it myself. Actually, my father gave me, I think, like $1,000. I gave him some shares in the business, and he did really well.
Good.
So that's kind of how I started my first business. So yeah, I just reinvested back into the business, and that's the way that I started. So I didn't take on external investment. After I sold to a private equity group, the second one I did take on investment, and it's very different because it's not your money at that point. So the way you approach things is a little differently. But I didn't take on huge amounts, and I think there are two different ways to grow a business. Some companies do go and raise a large amount of money, and they frequently just burn through that money and end up in trouble.
What that CEO was mentioning was that they pretty much created a culture that just throwing money out of onto something would fix the issue, instead of having that mentality that people should get together and collectively address the issue, right?
So because I bootstrapped the first company, my approach was to take on smaller tranches of money to help grow the business. So I was already very thoughtful about how we raise money and grew the business. And I think that helps you maintain your equity in the business, your ownership of the business as well. Because if you raise too much money too early, you're going to give up a lot of the value of the business.
Value. Yeah.
So by raising smaller amounts, it allows you to have a larger ownership in it. Now, that also has its own risks. Let's be really clear about that. Because if the economy turns and it becomes difficult to raise capital, you can end up being in a situation where you need money and you have to go and do a bad deal to go and raise capital to keep the business alive. So there is a balance between raising enough money to be safe,
kind of
secure,
like an insurance for down moment.
Just in case, because it can change. And more recently, it has got a lot more difficult to raise money.
Yeah, Brazil is facing that right now. But then what are the challenges once you raise money? Now you have a new shareholder,
you do.
Right? That will have strong opinions about things. How do you do that? It's Friday, you were alone, making decisions, very lonely by yourself. Now you have maybe a board to report to. How does that work?
Yeah, the way I like to describe it is it's a lot like a marriage. And that investor is going to become your partner. And early on, it can be great. They're writing a check to you, and you're getting lots of money. But that relationship can turn bad. So I would say that you need to think very carefully, not just about the money that the investor is bringing to you, but who is it that's going to be working with you? Do they share your same vision? Do they share your same approach?
But would you also favor like smart money, as people say, so money coming from companies or private equities or whoever that really understand your industry